All right, so we have some actual breaking news here, some real breaking news, really crazy story here that just broke. President Trump addressed the nation on the topic of Syria, and he has announced something that he has decided to do that I think is really disastrous. Now, he has decided that in retaliation for this gas attack that has occurred in Syria, which, by the way, there hasn't been an independent investigation done to show whether or not it was actually Assad or not. Now, he has decided to strike Syria. Now, here's what CNN says. They say, President Donald Trump announced on Friday he ordered strikes on the Syrian regime in response for a chemical weapon attack last weekend. Quote, I ordered the United States Armed Forces to launch precision strikes on targets associated with the chemical weapon capabilities of Syrian dictator of Bashar al-Assad. Trump said the strikes were in coordination with France and the United Kingdom, adding that the purpose of the campaign is to, quote, establish a strong deterrent against the production, spread, and use of chemical weapons. Quote, the combined American, British, and French response to these atrocities will integrate all instruments of our national power, military, economic, and diplomatic, Trump said. Trump indicated the strikes would continue until the Syrian regime's use of chemical weapons ends. Quote, we are prepared to sustain this response until the Syrian regime stops its use of prohibited chemical agents. So, essentially, what Trump has decided to do, and I'm going to kind of get into something that's very interesting here. What Trump has essentially decided to do is that he's going to do precision strikes on areas in Syria in which he thinks are associated with the chemical attacks that happened in Syria, which he thinks is by Bashar al-Assad, which, by the way, we don't 100% know if it was actually by him because there's not been an independent investigation done by him. Now, of course, the Syria situation is really a difficult one because on one side you have the rebels, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and all the offshoots of Islamic extremists. And then you have Bashar al-Assad, who is a complete asshole and a dictator. So which side do you take? If you take the side of the rebels, what ends up happening is ISIS will get far more powerful because a vacuum will be created. ISIS will become far more powerful. Al-Qaeda will become far more powerful. And extremist groups will become very much more powerful. So it becomes a huge problem. So now Trump has decided to do this in retaliation for the gas attack that occurred in Syria, which he thinks is by Bashar al-Assad. Now, we're going to listen to some things that he had to say here. We're going to check them out here. Take a listen.
A short time ago, I ordered the United States Armed Forces to launch precision strikes on targets associated with the chemical weapons capabilities of Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad. A combined operation with the armed forces of France and the United Kingdom is now underway. We thank them both.
So I just wanted to really quickly state that the fact that, the country is kind of having to rely upon orange doofus, angry orange Donald Trump is really distressing and really worrying for me because I don't think that Donald Trump is an intelligent person, and I don't think that Donald Trump knows what the fuck he's doing. He's been a pampered little spoiled brat all of his life, and the idea that he knows anything about foreign policy. And so, this is very dangerous because Jimmy Carter himself said that in his own experience, the National Security Advisor is the person that the president listens to the most. Obviously, Trump is the president right now. But he said that in his experience, the National Security Advisor is who the president listens to the most. Now, recall that there's been a lot of, leaving that's been going on and, positions being left in the Trump admin. And he has recently appointed John Neocon, Bolton. I didn't think that was going to rhyme. John Neocon Bolton as his National Security Advisor, which is unbelievably scary, by the way, because he has advocated for war not just in North Korea but also Iran. He advocates for war almost everywhere, just bomb everywhere, bomb every fucking place possible. And John Bolton is peak neocon. He is the top neocon and warmonger that you could possibly get to. The war machine. He was part of the kind of thing that was created, the fact that the lies that were made up, that were fabricated in the lead up to the Iraq War, saying that, oh, Saddam has WMDs, and that, you know, he said that if he could, he would like destroy like 10 floors of the United Nations or something like that. So very anti diplomacy, doesn't give a fuck about diplomacy. Let's bomb, fuck diplomacy. That's John Bolton's mentality. Fuck the UN, bomb, unilaterally bomb. So when that person is the security advisor, national security advisor, and the president is an orange doofus named Donald Trump, who's been a pampered, spoiled bitch all of his life, what do you think is going to happen? And that is why we're in this situation today where something like this is happening. The fact that we are, you know, in a potential lead up to a World War III case scenario, and Donald J. Trump, the dude with the show called The Apprentice, is our president, and that's the person that we are relying upon, is absolutely terrible. And it's very scary, and I don't have any trust in this man whatsoever. Now, let's check out some other things that President Trump says. I have a few more clips here.
Tonight I ask all Americans to say a prayer for our noble warriors and our allies as they carry out their missions. We pray that God will bring comfort to those suffering in Syria. We pray that God will guide the whole region toward a future of dignity and of peace. And we pray that God will continue to watch over and bless the United States of America. Thank you and good night. Thank you.
So as you can see, Donald Trump throwing out a bone to evangelicals and other Christians, because he's saying, you know, pray this, pray that, Christian this, or not Christian this, God this, God that. And, you know, a lot of this has been a very hot topic recently, is war. You know, the mainstream media has been beating the war drum as of recently, massively beating the war drum, by the way, constantly, unstoppingly, constant just barrage of war. And we're essentially in the same situation we were with places like Iraq, Libya, and these different countries that we've done these things in. And this is a very horrible move, of course, because, as you guys know, Putin and Russia support Bashar al-Assad. Now, what kind of conflict can this lead to? Obviously, a conflict between the United States and Russia would turn nuclear very quickly, and it would be massively dangerous. And we need to, and again, I want to stress that Trump stated that he's going to continue these strikes until they stop using chemical weapons. So this is not a one-time thing right now. This is, hey, we're going to keep bombing you guys. We're going to keep bombing you motherfuckers. So how do you think Russia's going to take that? How do you think Bashar is going to take that? You know, this is a very scary situation. And like I said, even if you are somebody who is a conservative, okay, and you're pro-war, are you really going to sit there and tell me face to face that you trust big orange buffoon Donald J. Trump, who's the host of The Apprentice show and a pampered bitch all of his life, who doesn't know jack shit about foreign policy or being president of the United States, in a potential lead up to a World War III-like situation? Could you honestly tell me that with a straight face looking me in the eye? There is no way that you could possibly tell me that, because that is just such a, you know, beyond ridiculous statement to say. And also wanted to touch on, I think I might have already touched on this, but it's been James Mattis and other people in, you know, what you would call the deep state, who have been preventing Trump from escalating further in the first place. I talked about that in one of my Patreon exclusive videos. It was a segment on the news story of how James Mattis was the reason why we hadn't escalated further in the first place. And now that we have John Bolton as a national security advisor, it looks like things are changing massively. You guys recall that Trump just like literally a week ago said, you know, we're going to be out of Syria really soon, you know, let them deal with the problem, and, you know, we're going to be out very soon, very soon. I think he was, I can't remember if he was at a rally or where the fuck he was, but he was speaking, and that was what he said. So this is really scary for me, and I'm sure it is for a lot of you guys as well. And I wanted to really quickly just play the other clip that I have here.
Short time ago, I ordered the United States Armed Forces to launch precision strikes on targets associated with the chemical weapons capabilities of Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad. A combined operation with the armed forces of France and the United Kingdom is now underway. We thank them both.
That's something else to point out as well. The fact that this attack is in coordination with both France and the UK makes it even more scary, because now you essentially have teaming up. If you have a coalition between France, the UK, and the US, and you're attacking Syria, which is a massive ally and a client state of Russia, you're essentially bungling up these teams where now you're looking at the US, the UK, and France, and then you have Russia and Syria. So it's fucking nuts. And like I stated, even if you are a conservative who is saying that we should go into Syria, we should go bomb them, we should do this, we should do that, there's no way that you could tell me in a situation like this, in which it is like literally basically a lead up to a World War III like situation and massive hostility, massive tensions, and when we have massively nuclear capable countries, that you trust President Doofus Trump, the most incompetent president and leader and commander-in-chief in maybe the history of, presidents, to be able to lead us through this situation. And when you know that the people who are controlling really what he does and says is people like John Bolton, who is peak neocon, played the American people openly, lied to the American people, fabricated evidence in the lead up to the Iraq War to say that Saddam has the WMDs, etc., etc. This is not a good move. It's very scary, and like I said, it's almost a lead up to a World War III like situation. Now, I want to play the other audio clip really quickly once again, then we'll wrap this up.
To say a prayer for our noble warriors and our allies as they carry out their missions. We pray that God will bring comfort to those suffering in Syria. We pray that God will guide the whole region toward a future of dignity and of peace. And we pray that God will continue to watch over and bless the United States of America. Thank you and good night. Thank you.
So again, like I stated earlier, Trump is basically there throwing a bone to Christians, invoking God and saying, pray this, pray that. But that is obviously just kind of empty words there that's going on. Now, this is just something that's really fucking scary. And some people have stated, because, the mainstream media has been beating the war drum very heavily. Some people have been stating that, kind of making these statements saying that if we do go to war, that, Trump's kids or, conservatives and people who support the war should enlist. And it's getting to a very scary situation where a World War III-like scenario doesn't look really all that unlikely at this point. And if these strikes continue, because recall, Trump said that if these attacks don't stop, he's going to keep on precision striking. So there's not really a near end to it. And I still can't fathom it, because he just said a week ago that he was going to be pulling out of Syria. So this is a very scary situation that is, almost like a lead up to World War III. And this is a very scary